Got a limousine, I want to show it. Future's looking good, I'll probably blow it. Had some parents once, but you'd never know it. Bankroll oversized, so what if they stole it? But who I am fooling? I'm the king of the runes. This is the Community Solutions Podcast. Jason Bradley, Andrew Richter from deep in the bowels of our underground lair, where, guess what? There's no such thing as a fetal heartbeat. It's only a myth. Made up so that men could control women's bodies. What do you think about that, Andrew?
I think that's true. I think, nothing I came up with.
I like to say that there is absolutely no heartbeat within the first 6 or 7 weeks.
Well, they know,
and
right?
then maybe there might be something that resembles that after.
Well, that's just one. I feel so much better now knowing that.
Yes.
Okay.
Live in a crazy world, Andrew.
Yeah, well, I'd like to say it's getting more sane, but I think it's getting more crazy.
Yeah.
How'd you like to have an electric car in Florida right now? I just kind of curious. Think
I bet they do really well down there.
What are you going to charge that up on them? How's that solar panel? Is that going to restore power down there? Just asking, I mean.
Well, I'm sure some genius down there, or maybe in Washington, D.C., thought, if we had enough windmills in Florida, we would have the wind power we need to generate power to that state.
Somebody's working on subsidizing that bill. I thought we didn't believe in corporate welfare here, and I don't.
I don't either.
But to me, it seems like it's corporate welfare if you like what they're selling.
Right.
Then it's okay. But if you don't like what they're selling, then corporate welfare is bad. So I don't like welfare of any kind, Jay, just to be totally blunt. Even though I've come to believe in a limited social safety net, I just,
hand up versus a handout.
Well, I mean, there's a time and a place for that. First off, I have no idea on the song.
Okay.
King of the World it was? Isn't that Jack Dawson from Titanic?
Yes,
you nailed it. So it's King of the World. I got it again.
Ghost in the Runes from Savatage.
Savatage. I don't know who they are.
Savatage was a metal band in the 80s into the 90s there.
Oh, okay.
So really talented players, but yeah.
Huh. Okay. I'll have to look up, get a tape of Sabotage.
Well, they made tapes. You could probably find one.
I'm sure back then they did. Yeah. I know you had all those Roxette and Vanilla Ice tapes in your Walkman, so you didn't have time to listen to Sabotage. I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
Jay, I am intrigued. By the way, first off,
yes,
I have to say something about Loretta Lynn's passing. She passed today at 90 years old.
Wow.
I got to say, I'm a fan of country music, especially older country. But country has not had the trailblazing women, I think, are intriguing. Country's known for the good old boys and that kind of thing, and for somebody like her to break through and kind of be that trailblazing woman country singer, and especially to have a husband who lets you make fun of him in the music. I mean, her husband passed a long time ago, but
right.
He had to tolerate a lot to allow that. I don't know if I could have done that, but supposedly he thought they were great. That's what she says. So,
well. I'm sure he got his cut.
Yeah, I am definitely, without a doubt. Your thoughts on Loretta Lynn? I mean, are you a fan of older country? I know we've talked a little bit about it, but I mean,
some of it. My grandma loved that stuff. Statler Brothers, Oak Ridge Boys, all that kind of stuff.
My grandparents too.
Marty Robbins. I can picture all our 8 tracks stacked up under the end table that I inherited right over there.
That's right. The one Merle Haggard CD my dad had, just played it over and over and over. And I was always a Johnny Cash fan.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, obviously a trailblazer in her field. not many people like that around anymore from her era.
Yeah.
So just kind of a giant to country we lose today.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm just trying to think. I know Alabama was another big one for me growing up.
Yeah, sure.
Before Garth Brooks and all that.
Yeah, before the new country, as I call it.
Yeah.
Suburban country, as my friends used to call it.
I was always a Charlie Daniels fan.
Great. Charlie Daniels
still
was great.
Yeah.
Just great.
Yeah.
I mean, if I had a Mount Rushmore of country, I don't know who I'd put on there, because you'd have to put Garth on there because he's the only worldwide country star ever. And I mean...
Well, there's a lot of them now, I think.
There are, but I think without him, I don't know.
Right. It stays an American.
Yeah, it's in the southern. I think Garth knocked down that southern, twangy. Not that that's bad. It just country had more to grow, I think. You'd have to put Merle Haggard up there. Mm-hmm. I'm partial to Johnny Cash. Loretta Lynn might have to be there. And as far as bands,
Willie and Waylon,
they're great.
Yeah.
I like some George Strait, George Jones.
I mean, that Highwaymen album with Chris Christopherson was in on that too.
Great.
Yeah.
Just good stuff. And as far as bands go, hands down, it's Alabama. I don't think it's close. Oak Ridge Boys are probably my second favorite.
Charlie Daniels Band. I don't know. I'm telling you.
All right.
I know he bordered on rock and stuff, but he still had plenty of country in him.
I agree. And I have my other favorite country. There's a band called Black Hawk, which is probably my favorite of the newer ones, along with the Mavericks and Diamond Rio. That would be my bands there. And there's other guys. I mean, I think there's great acts all around there. I don't necessarily like what I hear on the radio versus because I don't know anything anymore. I know nothing whatsoever. But when country hit its boom in the 90s, fair to say, it was K102 was on my... And a funny thing about it is I remember K102 used to have a Sunday morning, or it was a Saturday morning, like old time country, like played stuff from, and that was kind of where I caught some stuff I had never heard or didn't know or had heard and didn't remember. The Glenn Campbells and people like that of the world, and so it was great to hear all that stuff too. So Loretta Lynn, a giant in country music, dead at 90 years young. We go from that, Jay, to the Minnesota governor's race. Now, I got to get your take on something.
Yeah.
I go to the 538 blog, and I go to Real Clear Politics, and they have moved the governor's race of Minnesota here into a toss-up.
Really?
The latest... Now, I personally think, this is me, and this is just me being a cynic, me not being a big fan of Scott Jensen and being no fan whatsoever of Mr. Walz.
Yeah.
But I want to get your take on something.
Okay.
Here are the most recent 3 polls here in Minnesota. Taken from September 12th on. I'm going to ignore stuff in July. I mean, that means nothing now.
Yeah.
Walz 48, Jensen 41. Walz 48, Jensen 45. Walz 48, Jensen 44. Those are the last 3. So it's an average of...
It tells me the undecideds are breaking towards Jensen.
Okay. Now, see, I read that differently.
Okay.
Now, that's what you read it as.
Yeah.
Now, I think there's good and bad for both candidates.
Okay.
Okay. I'll start with Walz.
Yeah.
What's the bad? The bad's that he's at 48%.
Right.
What's the good? That he's at 48%.
Exactly. He hasn't moved.
It's solid.
Yeah.
It's not moving, but it's not going anywhere.
Right.
So while he doesn't have to get 50% to win, I mean...
Right, depending on the other candidates that are in a race.
I mean, 4 straight Minnesota governor elections from 1998 to 2010, nobody got 50% of the vote. Right. So you don't have to get to 50. But it's good and bad that he's at 48. Now, Jensen, while he has closed ground, is still at the Jeff Johnson line.
Right.
And there's not one poll anywhere that shows him in the lead. There's not one. What this tells me, take the 48 to 44. Okay, and then there's 1% for this person, 1%, 1%, 2%, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, this tells me this, that there is 52% of the state does not want to vote for Tim Walz.
Right.
But 52% does not want to vote for Scott Jensen either. So how does he get, say he's at 44. Let's say that poll's right.
Okay.
How does he get from 40? He doesn't need to get to 50, but he can't win it with 44.
Right.
He's got to get to 48. How does he do it? What is one thing? Because look, it's too late to change the narrative now. He's fumbled the abortion issue. He's fumbled a couple other things. He's recovered some. Okay, but how does he get from 40? What he needs to do is he needs to figure out how to do that and talk about nothing but that for the next 36 days or whatever the hell it is.
I think you have to replay the city on fire, and he's nowhere to be found, and he's an absent leader, you know? Where is he?
Okay, so the crime angle. The I sat on, did nothing for 3 days while I had stay-at-home orders going on, and then I let this happen. Okay, that's one angle he could play, and I think he's done that moderately well. I think the Walz failed group has done that better.
Yeah.
But I haven't really seen, I think this is the weakness of Jensen. There's no clear, it's the weakness of the entire Minnesota Republican Party. There's no clear, unmistakable message coming from them. Anywhere in the country. Forget Minnesota for a minute. I think anywhere in the country, there's no clear, coherent message. Something else is also missing, and it has been missing this entire time. Where is the President of the United States? If I had a chance to put Biden's name with Walz, every chance I could get, I would do it. Now, there are polls showing Biden anywhere from 35 to 44% in this country. I don't believe any of them.
No.
Because if he's at 44%, Jay, that means he's at 50 or higher in the blue and purple states.
And he's not.
And he'd be there campaigning if he was.
Absolutely. But
so
he's not.
Their internals have to show it worse than that.
Yeah.
So to me, I think he's gone up a few points, maybe because Dems are coming home during the election time and all that. Yeah. There could be a little bit of that. I think that there's been glimmers of hope. They're kind of going away, I think, for Dems. Well, I think the Republicans are pretty certain to take both houses.
Especially with gas going up again.
Well,
that's just another...
Quite frankly, it went down to $3.79. Yippee! I mean,
I know, but that it's going up again right now.
And I mean,
just like...
Yeah, and I think the fact that, you know, there is literally no solution offered by this administration. Nothing. You can't deplete our strategic oil reserves anymore. So, I mean, if I get any chance to have Biden humping Walz's leg and put that on TV, I do it.
Yeah.
It's something that's been missing. If I can put him with AOC and put him with Omar and put him with... Where has that been?
Now, that might work to put him with Omar. Nobody's seen the president or Tim Walz.
John Thompson.
Right.
I mean, there's been... nothing there. It's like Jensen's been playing defense the whole time. And here's another thing that's been missing. And this is why I think he's fumbled the abortion issue so badly. Because he could have done what I would have done and what I will do when I run in 4 years. And that is offer a compromise that will make nobody happy. And I concede that it won't. But me being a pretty strong pro-life person, I want to see a reduction in abortion. That's what I want to see.
Yeah.
I'm not naive enough to think that abortion will never happen again. We have laws against murder, and murder still happens. I can't do anything about that. But Jensen could simply have offered, okay, look, I will support the right to an abortion in the first 10 weeks. Okay? Now, I know the pro-life zealots are not going to like that, but my answer to that is he has done nothing to expose Tim Walz's position on abortion, which, if you want to talk about radical, he basically supports abortion up to the minute before birth. Now, you can't tell me that that is not a position he should be exploiting.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
But
where's that been? Why is Walz never on defense?
Because Republicans don't know how to do it.
Yeah, that's true.
Republicans never seem to put anybody on defense.
Well, that's a good point. They just don't know how to do it. They're just amateurs. I don't know how to describe it.
Yeah.
They haven't campaigned well since since Newt. They haven't campaigned well since then.
No.
And Newt's got my own issues with him. But I mean, but the idea that Walz is getting a pass. I mean, have you seen polls on partial birth abortion? It's about 70% opposed in this country.
Really?
And I actually think it's more than that. I think
partial birth? Oh, yeah, it's at least that.
So, I mean, and again, where has that been?
Right.
But again, Jensen could have quelled this in July had he simply said, okay, look, I'll support limited abortion, which of course he can't do. The legislature would have to make a law. Right. But I mean, I'll accept some some abortion with limitations. We'll have less abortion, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
And we're going to preserve it for, rape and incest, which I keep saying is not possible to prove. It could take 2 years for a rape trial. The kid's going to be born before then. Get the presumption of innocence. It's not that simple to pass a law like that. But if he would have said 8 weeks, 10 weeks, this would have went away in July.
Right.
So where's that been to?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't.
I guess I said the one thing, and we've come up with like 6. So maybe
it's tough, somehow, I know they have the help of the media and whatever, but Democrats just get to run from everything, and they're never challenged on anything. Well, so they already have.
You're right to a point, but you can also bypass the mainstream media now the way you couldn't 20 years ago.
Right.
You could take your message somewhere else. I mean, I question how many people really get their news from Carol Levin. I mean, what's the percentage of that today and the percentage of that 30 years ago?
Yeah, not
very different. So, I'm just saying, like I said, there didn't seem to be a strategy there either. He got pummeled over the summer and was on defense the entire time. Mm-hmm. And he's caught up a little bit, but he's still at that Jeff Johnson line. And then ain't going to cut it. So, like I said, I think there's good and bad. The good news is he's not out of it.
Yeah.
Bad news is somehow he has to, I'd say, score an upset.
Yeah.
And I don't know how that happens. And Republicans, again, refuse to embrace early voting. They're going to whine about it, crab about it, bitch about it, listen to some idiot like Kim Crockett, who I'm not voting for. I mean, she said she's not going to accept the election day results unless she wins. It's basically what she said the other day. She had a Facebook video the other day where she had the wrong election day, the wrong date she put out there. Yeah, go to vote on November 4th. The election day is November 8th. Oh. Pretty bad editing there. I will say this. I think Jim Schultz, I think he will pull this off.
Yeah.
Against Keith Ellison, I really do.
Huh.
And there hasn't been a Republican attorney general since, God. I can't think of one in my lifetime.
Yeah.
I mean, who was it before Skip Humphrey? I don't even...
Yeah, I couldn't tell you.
Who was after him? Mike Hatch? Was he the attorney general?
So, yeah.
Okay. So, I mean... There's a good chance there. But I don't know. I don't know about the rest of it. We'll be podcasting election night though, Jay. So we'll be on my podcast that night, but we'll still have everything, and I'm going to make some predictions in a future episode or two about what happens. So just so we all know what's not going to happen.
Right.
So anyway, there's my analysis, my totally cynical, horrible analysis of what I think's going to happen. It wouldn't be me unless it was completely terrible and horribly cynical.
Yeah, that's true. I know there are some that think that even in this state we'll be able to get both houses, and I just don't.
Well, here's the thing. The Minnesota House, I believe, only has to flip like 4 seats, I want to say. Redistricting, I think. Yeah, I think it's 70 to 64. It's 71 to 63, something like that right now.
Okay.
And, of course, the Senate is Republican by, I believe, 35-32.
Okay.
Now, redistricting is throwing a monkey wrench in some of that.
Right.
So who knows? Quite frankly, if Walz wins with a Democratic House and Senate, we'll be living on an allowance. And again, it shows the failure of not dealing with that surplus because it's all going to get spent. And if 10 cents come back to the taxpayers, Republicans can't claim credit for any of it.
Right.
So it was stupid to punt that. It was stupid to focus on income. I don't know what the hell they were thinking there. But look, nobody can turn gold into lead. It's like being a Lions fan for you Republicans. It's got to be horrible. It just has to be terrible.
Yeah.
It's Lions, the Jets. It's the Bad News Bears. I mean, that's got to be what it's like. I'm so glad to be released from it.
Yeah, that's probably pretty accurate.
I know, I'm terrible, but you can't be more cynical than me. That's the great thing about me is that you think you're cynical, I'm worser. Now, you want to be cynical.
Yeah.
Okay, you really want to be cynical. What is this Regional Council of Mayors? Can you tell me what the hell that is? What is that BS? Minnesota's Regional Council of Mayors for the Urban Land Institute, right?
Yes.
Who the hell are these morons?
We really got to talk about this today. I know. I guess it was my idea, wasn't it?
No kidding. No whining when it's your idea.
Urban Land Institute Minnesota is a district council of Urban Land Institute, which is a 501c3 nonprofit research and education organization supported by its members and sponsors. It was founded in 1936, probably by Hitler, and ULI now has more than 40,000 members worldwide, representing the whole spectrum of land use and real estate development disciplines, working in private, enterprise, and public service.
Oh, God, that just sounds bad.
Doesn't it sound bad? It just makes you feel like you want to throw up.
Well, look at these mayors here. By the way, we're at minnesota.uli.org. Look at these beauties. Who are these beauties here? The mayor of Lakeville.
Yes.
The mayor of Minnetonka. The mayor of Woodbury. Oh, look at that beauty. Looks like Elvira. The mayor of Edina. Surprise, surprise. Got to have the liberal yuppies in there. Ugh. Mayor of Burnsville. Ugh, boy. The mayor of Egan. Got a couple teeth missing there. And one eye looking one way. One eye looking another way.
Really?
And then your buddy, Jake the Snake.
Oh, you don't say.
Look at that. Look at that cue ball.
Oh,
so that's just I love this. It's a regional council of mayors, yet there's all Twin City mayors in there. It's this big region.
Oh,
so who are these knuckleheads? I mean, what are they doing?
Well, they're
these beauties here.
So, the Regional Council of Mayors is nationally recognized as a nonpartisan coalition, which made me laugh because it's about as nonpartisan as the Democrat Party. I mean, it's pretty much an offshoot of the Democrat Party.
Naturally.
Yeah, absolutely. You'll appreciate this word salad here. It's a nonpartisan coalition building civic trust through connected relationship, inquiry, positive intentions, and collective action focused on issues of regional significance. So let me break that down to our listeners because that's a bunch of gobbledygook. So again, they say they're nonpartisan. That's only because their job description is nonpartisan. They themselves are all all vying for the things that we hate. Building civic trust through connected relationships. Well, they're not building trust with the people. They're building trust with each other as mayors and as cities, and that's what that means. Because connected relationships, that's who they're connected to. Inquiry.
Yeah.
So asking questions.
No, but let me go back to what you said.
Yes.
It's the cookie cutter approach.
All right.
How do we build equity here and then take it to this city, take it to this city? We got a freaking roundabout here. How do we get it to this city? How do we get it to this city?
Right.
We got, we got something in the bonding bill. Okay. How do we bring it there? How do we bring it there? How do we bring it there? I mean, that's, if they want connectivity, that's not that hard. Go get Windows 95.
Yeah.
Okay. That's not difficult. This is taking the sub out of suburb, and how do we do that everywhere?
Right.
That's really what that means.
Yeah. And it's really building trust with each other,
There's no trust there. It's all just...
It's part of the club. Like, this city is trusted because they're putting in all the equity stuff. They're putting in all the
They've made all their green
sustainability
steps.
stuff, yes. So they're a trusted city, but a city like Big Lake...
They're not
No, they're not to be trusted because they're not following the program.
That's
or
right.
Program, maybe I should say.
Bill Clinton, my programs, my party, my program. No, this is it's the old. They don't have smart growth; they have dumb growth. You can't have dumb growth. These cities have dumb growth.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so after that, it's inquiry. So
we get to investigate. The media is going to investigate.
Oh, not the media.
We got a special counsel.
The Regional Council of Mayors.
Get Ken Starr from the grave here. I know he just passed away recently, but let's dig him up and exhume him and have him put them on trial.
Positive intentions. Let me. It's like wishes and rainbows. Let me quote from the great movie starring Burgess Meredith. Well, you can wish in one hand and crap in the other and see what gets filled first.
What movie is that?
That's one of the Rocky movies.
Oh,
I think two.
Oh,
I think that's
God.
Rocky 2, yeah.
I gotta say,
Yes.
of all the Rocky and Mick dialogues,
Yes.
you remember the one? I think it was Rocky 2 where he's chasing the chicken.
Yes.
Okay, and Burgess looks at him and says, "You got to wear that stinking sweatshirt." And Stallone goes, "Yeah, brings me luck, and then
Brings flies.
brings flies." Well, what I got to chase a chicken for? Oh, it's embarrassing, That's I love the dialogue between those two characters.
Do too. But
Crap. I thought it was you're going to crap thunder and you're going to piss lightning or something. He said.
It might have been when he was in Grumpy Old Men. I'll have to look that up and see where that came from. But yes, that is a Burgess Meredith quote.
Going back to his days playing the Joker here.
Yes. So, what else was in this?
Good intentions. By the way, the old saying, the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Yeah.
There we go. We're good intentions. Always good intentions with taking my money.
Right. And collective action focused on issues of regional significance. So here's the first problem. Anytime you see the word collective, run.
Well, collective, I associate that with the Soviet Union.
I do too.
Anytime you hear that, I go back to the famine in the 1930s.
Yes.
So yeah, collective is a horrible word. It's as bad as sustainable or any of those other wordsmithing words we like or hate.
Yeah.
Again, that's another word. Another way to say that, Jay, is best practices or something like that. One of those kind of things. Yeah, it's just again another way to put the cookie cutter in here. How do I regional significance?
I know. 1995, Grumpier Old Men. Yep.
Okay, fine.
Well, you can wish in one hand and crap in the other and see which gets filled first. Yeah.
Well, it's true.
Yes. That is what we're dealing with here.
Now, here's something that I find interesting, Jay.
Yeah.
What the sponsors of this? Okay, just Forget.
Oh, wait, before we skip on to that,
yeah.
I have one more. We'll just kind of gloss over this one and let it sink in. Their goal is to equip mayors for unifying, complex, adaptive leadership, exchange of ideas, and emerging innovation, seek to understand and find the common good, and foster access, inclusion, diversity, and equity.
Okay.
Yes.
Can I educate and diversify you moron mayors? Mr. Toothless Mayor from Egan. Okay. With a Dumb and Dumber haircut. Okay.
Lloyd Christmas or Harry?
Are you saying there's a chance? No, that's the Lloyd Christmas on that. Here's the thing. In statutory too. It's just in state statutes.
Right.
You are responsible for police and fire. You're responsible for roads. You're responsible for parks. And it pretty much ends there.
Yes.
Okay, your job is not to remake the region. It's not to turn us into some Chicago or turn us into some European utopia. Your job is so simple. If you just grow a brain and do it.
Yes.
Just put your mind to it and do it. But I go back to this. How can these mayors, okay, look at that beauty in Burnsville. How can these mayors serve their cities and at the very same time we've talked about this over 6 years on this podcast, Jay, 1,000,000 times.
Yes.
You can't serve two masters. Okay? So how do you serve a region? It's not your job to think regionally. Okay?
Right.
How can you do that and uphold your oath to the position you were elected to? Nobody elected Jake the Snake, okay, in his chrome dome to regionally think. Okay, the job is public safety, transportation, and things like that. That's all you have to do. I know he has higher ambitions, and I think soon he will be running for them. But that's your job. So how do you serve two masters?
Well, you can't. It's the Bible that says you serve one and hate the other,
Right.
or hate one and serve the other.
So in Jake's the Snake's case, it's screw St. Louis Park. I'm bigger than St. Louis Park. That's what he thinks. And he's going to serve the region. How do you draw any other conclusion from that? He's involved in every damn thing, every horrible nightmare, Friday the 13th thing we look up, he's somehow involved. It's like he's Mrs. Voorhees.
Wow.
Well, I mean, figuratively speaking. Here, I don't want to be tweeted anything, okay? But here's what I don't get, Jay. Here's what I don't get. These sponsors. This is something I'd be interested in looking in. Mm-hmm. What is it? Because this group is sponsored by Target, Comcast, Wells Fargo. I don't know what Dorsey is. What's Dorsey?
I don't know.
That Ken? Oh, Dorsey.com. Zealous advocates. We take pride in LGQBTMNOLP equality.
Boy.
So that must be where they are. Some sort of...
Yeah.
What the hell are they? I still don't... Zealous advocates is what they are.
They're always ahead, apparently.
I don't even know what they do. What the hell do they do?
I don't know.
Banking and financial institutions. What's Dorsey.com, Jay? I mean,
I'm on it.
What the hell are they?
They're a top banking and finance law firm.
Well-known multinational government entities, financial institutions,
They're lawyers.
and growth. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, God. You know, let me tell you something. My dislike for doctors is maybe second or third to my dislike for lawyers.
Yeah.
Seriously, lawyers just suck. They're just horrible individuals.
Comcast is on here.
What's urban visionary?
That must be a level of sponsor that they have. They have gold, which is Wells Fargo, diamond, which is Dorsey. And
Oh, I see.
Urban visionaries. Those are the cheapskates, apparently.
But what are these? What are these Minneapolis Regional Chamber?
Yeah.
What are these sponsors getting out of this? I mean, it's funny. Comcast, Target. How come you have the money to sponsor all this? Why don't you pay your employees better?
Well, that would
How about
be nice.
that?
But then they can't.
I see what you're saying.
Can't get light rail to come right up to their door. Can't get the special tax breaks and the. How are you gonna do that?
That's right. I said gold. Yeah, Wells Fargo is just kind of the cheapskate. They're not paying enough. So now, Jay, why don't you explain here? Okay, so we know who these knuckleheads are. What do they do here? What do they do? When do they meet? Do they all get together and pass legislation? What do they do?
Yeah, well, they do get together. They have two co-chairs that they set agendas. So yeah, they meet and they recommend leadership positions. So I don't understand what they're not very clear about what leadership positions they have, but they have advisory committees. So they're trying to come up with different kinds of ordinances and things like that.
Well, let me say one thing real quick. They have a Minnesota Mayors Together Executive Committee.
Right.
With Marv Calvin, the mayor of Wilmer, Shelley Carlson, the mayor of Moorhead, your girlfriend, Emily Larson of Duluth, the mayor of Granite Falls, Dave, Smiggle Whiskey.
What?
Then the mayor of Minnetonka again. He's on this too. Brad Wearscum. Wearsome. What did I call the mayor of Granite Falls? Dave Smiggle Whiskey?
Yeah, that's pretty close.
Smigglesky? Whatever, he's a Polak. Okay. There's a ski in there, okay? He writes a foul ball is a home run. Okay. But these Minnesota Mayors Together must be one of these little subcommittees here.
Yeah. Yeah, they do have a number of these subcommittees, and I think it's important to say that really we've talked about with the Great Reset how it is public-private partnerships where government and business are getting together to set the agenda for everybody else, and that's the framework of what they're doing here. It says that initiative advisory committees are co-chaired by a mayor and a private sector leader. Initiative committee teams are terms are open-ended. So it's co-chaired by a mayor and a private sector leader. So you have business and you have government coming together. Again, a lot of times we would refer to that as fascism, when government and business get together to make the rules for everybody else. And they're exempt from
100%. It's 100%.
So this is really a fascism committee is what it is. Which leads us then down into Minnesota Mayors Together. This was it was launched out of the Regional Council of Mayors, and back in 2017, out of a concern that what divides us is impacting our ability to reach our full potential as a state.
Yeah, in other words, we just haven't found a way to jam everything down people's throats without them not liking it.
Yeah, right.
By the way, the Urban Land Institute's 2022 sponsors, I'm fascinated by these sponsors because I don't get why a company would do this. They have to be getting something out of this.
Right.
I mean, you've got everybody from, of course, the McKnight Foundation, MSR Designs, Met Council, Comcast, Ackerberg, Wells Fargo again. There are Ryan Company. They're a builder.
Yes.
These Xcel Energy, which is, of course, is a legal monopoly. They have to be getting something out of this. There's got to be deals for these companies to be throwing money at this.
Right.
Because notice it isn't, Bob's Barbershop or, Jenny's Hair Salon. It's always the big companies. They're always the ones that are looking for the handout.
Yeah.
And it doesn't surprise me that builders will be on this because they'll be the ones that build all the redesign or whatever these people want to call this stuff. That's what it stinks. This thing, it's horrible.
Yes. Yeah. And granted, it's you can't really call it a secret society, mayors, but because they do publish where they're meeting and when. At least they have through this last June on there, but that really doesn't help you out. And the things that they say about the group, I mean, it just, I don't understand. I mean, it's pushing for the same old thing. So, and it's the same things you see all over the state, and a lot of it is the same stuff that you see coming out of Mado's Develop Minnesota plan. They're looking for safety and recovery strategies, economic competitiveness, broadband, small business support, community safety, mental health, workforce development, inclusive cities.
Huh.
It's...
Well, I'll tell you what, it gets worse.
Yes.
Look at Urban Plan. There's something called the Urban Plan. The mission, well, forget the mission for a minute. What is Urban Plan? It's a realistic, engaging exercise in which participants, high school students, university students, or public officials learn the fundamental forces that affect development in our communities. In other words, they're getting involved in the young heads of mush.
Yes.
Participants experience challenging issues, private and public sector roles, complex trade-offs, and fundamental economics in play when proposing realistic land use solutions to vexing challenges. Now, what did I just say, Jay? Was that in Swahili?
Yeah, it was not English, I'll tell you that. And not that either of us are dummies either.
Well, and we've got the Urban Planning Chair, Patrick Boylan of the Met Council.
Of course.
And of course, it's sponsored by the Dorsey and Whitney Foundation, whoever they are. They have basically invaded our schools. I mean, look it on here. Roseville Area High School. What are they doing in there? Mounds View School. Mm-hmm. What students say about Urban Plan. They have a whole thing here about, of course, they're praising it, as always. But I don't even know what it is. What is it?
I don't know, but they give teachers awards and...
For what? This is gobbledygook.
It is. Let's see.
Urban Plan, screw you.
Let's see. Urban Plan is a well-designed project that is a great preparation for other kinds of presentations and proposals in college and in the business world. It's just stupid. It doesn't say anything.
Well, there's also something here called the Real Estate Diversity Initiative.
Yes.
It is an intense cohort experience open exclusively to professionals of color and women working in real estate and land use industries. So in other words, white men not included.
Right.
Now, can you imagine if you put up a sign saying, yeah, no blacks, please?
Yeah.
No Hispanics, please?
And rightfully, people should be terribly upset.
They should be. That's not acceptable.
But it's always okay to exclude whitey.
If you're white and you're Christian, boy, whew, that's 2 strikes against you.
Yes.
So the real estate estate diversity initiative. They also have something called Next Minnesota.
Yeah. I wish they'd all go live in the next Minnesota and leave this one alone.
It just here's the thing, it just doesn't explain what this crap is. I mean, that's what I think really worries me is that, and of course we have people from Target, from banks, all with their hands in this stuff. I mean, it's just so scary.
Yeah, it is. So who heads this thing up? I mean, they do have a leadership team. Let's see. We have Lynette Dumalog, who is the management committee chair, and
Yippee.
Gabe Philibert, who's the senior vice president, commercial real estate team leader for Minneapolis Bell Bank. So that's apparently their leadership team of 2 people.
But
Yes.
again, they use all of the same, stuff. Okay, they have a global site. I should point uli.org, which is the sort of the global site of this stuff. They have an Asian Pacific one. They have a European one. Again, if you don't think this is global or you don't think this can happen in your town, Urban Land Institute,
It's happening in Granite Falls.
It's happening in the smallest corner on earth, or Minnesota having car-free living. I mean, come on.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and here's, let's see, from the new chair of this group, what does racial justice look like? Are there areas where we observe, participate, or drive this work? How do we as members of ULI do our work through the lens of equity? And talks about tying COVID in with a racial reckoning following deaths of black and brown men and women and the rise in hate crimes. So many hate crimes that have happened have been scams. I found out Bubba Wallace, right? It was found out that it was a rope used to pull the garage door. It wasn't a noose.
Yeah, who was the other guy? Who was
Jussie Smollett?
Yeah, that guy.
That was a hoax, and there have been a number of those. The godmother of the Duke volleyball player in Texas that found out, she's running for a judgeship, and that's why she's making an issue of something that there's no evidence happened. And again, it's Duke causing a problem. Yeah. I would just like to pull that out of the file there. I used to like Duke as far as like basketball and stuff. They've really sickened me over the past number of years.
I still like them. By the way, the history of this, this RCM, as they like to call themselves, was launched in 2004 with 8 members. They're now 55. And the focus was on transit. That was their big focus. They partnered with Go Minnesota to support dedicated transit funding.
They didn't go far enough.
Then they responded to the Great Recession. They took advantage of people's hard times to create new crap. And again, it's just gobbledygook in there. But now they've been building civic infrastructure. That's now the thing that they claim to be doing. Today's cities are asked more to do with less. Actually, they aren't. They're taking more than they ever have.
Absolutely. All the COVID money and everything else, the infrastructure money from the Biden administration. You're telling me you have
Let's not forget franchise fees, property taxes are at the highest they've ever been. Permits and licensing are at the highest they've ever been. Bonding, we never owed more money than we ever have. What in the hell? Where do you live? What incarnation, as Uncle Jesse would say, are you talking about?
Oh, it's ridiculous.
It's just a talking point.
Isn't that all of this is?
Pretty much.
I mean, I don't know. The problem is there are so many of these groups. And if it's not this, it's a different group or some other group. And we're fighting these things, and they keep popping up like whack-a-mole, and there's not really any way to just put it down and keep it down, because when you do, they form some other group.
Well, ultimately, I mean, the only way, I still like to know, where are these meetings? Who is at them?
I know
who comes up with the policies?
This year's meeting happened at, you'll never guess, the League of Minnesota Cities convention.
Yeah, of course it did.
Of course. So, they take their little cadre off to the side and have some sort of self-important meeting.
So, I mean, that begs one question, though, Jay. What kind of impact do these folks really have? I mean, it's just another group to look. They have a newsletter, which is interesting. The funny thing about it, though, they haven't done one in 2022.
A meeting?
No, a newsletter.
Oh, a newsletter. Yeah.
Listen to some of the subjects, though.
Yeah.
Post-pandemic retail, road to recovery. Sustainable outlook. Mayor Maliga Legan Gonzalez, whoever that is. The new ULI mission. Regional Council on Mayors, health leaders. God, talk about a contradiction in terms. Women's History Month. That's their 2021 subjects there on their newsletter.
Richfield is where Maria Reagan Gonzalez is from.
I see.
Yes. Just
so all these things we can do together.
Yeah.
What is this cohort? They keep using the word cohort.
Yeah, that's one of those fancy words that they like to use all the time.
And wow, look at the sponsors again. Yeah. I mean, Minnesota Housing, United Properties, Front Door. I don't know who the hell they are. Cushing Terrell. I don't know who they are either. Oh. The Cornerstone Group. I mean, St. Paul and Minnesota Foundation. Comcast, Target, Met Council, Wells Fargo. I mean, how do you fight Bremer Bank, U.S. Bank, XL Energy, Krauss Anderson?
Goodness.
How do you fight all these millions of dollars?
By winning elections.
Yeah, but this is still there.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. I mean, you need people that refuse to go along with it, One thing that they refer to in here is the new localism. I've
heard of that.
We've always talked about, right? Because once you make everything local and you stop having that top down from federal government, state government, county government, and you're really making it decisions that can be solved at the front door or, City Hall, you have the ability then to have more sway theoretically to get the change that you want. But they twist that around with this new localism, because they've realized as well, if you can get it in at the local level, it'd be a lot harder to rip it out of 853 cities than it will be one place in Minnesota.
Jay, I'm of two minds on that, though. The whole local control idea.
Yeah.
If I don't like the local people, I don't want them in control. Let me give you an example. Okay, let me just give you, this is a dumb example, but let's say the state of Minnesota decided to give every city the ability, and they don't have this now through state law, the ability to add on to the sales tax. Right now it's the law exception.
Right.
Now you might say, well, that's a good idea because it gives local control rather than state control. But is it a good idea? Okay, just because the people close to you could be just as dumb as the people in St. Paul. Okay, so while that all sounds great in theory, and I agree with you that the people closest to a problem are usually the best people to solve a problem.
Yes.
At the same time, that's really a theory. It's really not, in practice, that's true and it's not true. Do you want, what if they removed limits on bonding? Okay, hey, local control. Bond whatever you want. There's a Minnesota statute right now, Statute 476, that puts limits on what local municipalities can bond. It has something to do with the percentage of their total tax base. But, okay, remove that, local control. Well, how great is that?
Right.
What if they just bond? There's no limit to what they bond.
Right. Well, even in that, though, I mean, you have the ability, if you hate what your city is doing, to move to a different city that's not as worser as that one. But the
problem is, you bond, you're stuck with those bonds. Yeah. That's not so simple to turn around.
No, it's not. And from a state perspective, I mean, if some town, borrowed themselves out of relevancy, the state would probably have to pick that up.
This 100%. Look at Detroit.
Right. But when we're talking about new localism, this really is a more devious way of getting widespread change by pretending that it's local.
Well, of course it's pretend.
Because this is what it says on thenewlocalism.com. A city-led world, see, it's local, needs to speed the process by which innovative solutions invented in one city are rapidly adapted and adopted by other cities. It's speeding up the copycat mechanism to get the bad ideas in everywhere. So it's essential to capture and codify new growth models that prioritize innovation, inclusion, and sustainability, new governance structures that are multi-sectoral and entrepreneurial, and new financial mechanisms that unlock public wealth and organize public and civic capital around a public purpose. So what that means, new growth models, is that you got to have the same ordinances, and you got to say, oh, these are the new trends. These are the things that cities are doing. They're innovating, but it's all about inclusion and sustainability to get those things codified into city ordinance. New governance structures. This is what we've talked about with the new reset. Governance is a huge part of that. You have environmental, social. The new growth models really are more social, right? And then, and actually, that now that my brain is like working overtime here, the new growth models, that's the S in ESG, social, inclusion, and sustainability. The new governance structures, that's the G, governance, right? So it's multi-sectoral and entrepreneurial. Many sectors, and it's entrepreneurial. So you're bringing business in with the different sectors of government to get things done.
No, you're doing that to control people.
Absolutely.
And change their behavior.
Yep.
And
then the last one is new financial mechanisms. That's the E. That's economic. So we have economic, government, G, and S. Social, or yes. ESG. Yes.
So is that what the big bankers are doing in here? They're going to come in past the ESG course. They control the money through the Fed.
Right.
Any member of the FDIC.
And it says unlock public wealth. Well, that's getting more money in the hands of government, right? And organize private and civic capital around a public purpose. So private and civic capital, again, public-private partnerships, you're getting You're combining the capital around a public purpose. If it doesn't fit that purpose, like coal-powered plants, like gas-powered cars, then it's out. You're not driving money towards those sources.
Now, Jay, how do we counteract something like that, then? Because ultimately, the government can try to force this crap down our throat all they want to, and they've tried, and they're trying as hard now as they ever have been. I don't know that they're succeeding.
Right.
How do we fight back against this? I mean, you take a look at automakers that are kind of in bed with these. I think they're doing it because they're getting money from the government. I mean, they're getting corporate welfare.
Absolutely.
To make electric cars that nobody wants to buy. I mean, ultimately, what happens if people want the gas-powered cars and they can't get them? What do? Who steps in that breach?
Well, I mean, I hope that some company decides, you know what, there's going to be a market out there, and I'm going to supply that market demand for gasoline
You're going to
powered
have to be
cars.
Self-financed because they're not going to be able to get a loan.
Exactly.
So who's going to do it? It's got to be some. But all the rich guys are all in bed with this stuff. There's a few rebels, there's a few Elon Musks out there, although he gets government money to make Teslas left and right.
Yeah.
I mean, I like him. He's a good, cool, innovative guy, but you can't tell me we haven't subsidized his business to a certain extent.
Absolutely. So
who's it going to take? I mean, who's going to do it? Somebody. There needs to be a group or you know what? How about alternatives to banking? I mean, state banks and credit unions and things like that. I mean, is there a people who aren't part of the FDIC structure, which is basically an oligopoly of banks that are globalists? It's going to take every facet of that. You're going to have the entrepreneurs, you're going to have the banking, you're going to have the workers, you're going to have the innovators, you're going to have the consumers, all working together to fight it. It's almost like being at war with each other.
Yeah.
I don't think that's too dramatic either.
No, and a lot of these guys are on board, especially your banks and stuff like that. Although I thought it was interesting, like Jamie Dimon had said recently, that for us to get rid of all gas-powered things would be pretty much the end of of things for America, which I thought was interesting.
What bank is he? Chase, or is it?
I'd have to.
It's one of those Delaware banks. I know it's.
Yeah, I know it was. He used to be, I thought, with.
I thought he was Chase Manhattan, but I could be wrong on that.
It might be.
What are the other big ones in Delaware? There's, I know that's
all of them.
Yeah, that's true. Just a coincidence that Joe Biden was the Senate Banking Committee chairman for a long time.
Yeah, he is the executive officer at J.P. Morgan Chase.
Okay, J.P. Morgan then. Okay.
Yeah.
That's right. They combined. That's a huge bank now.
Yeah. That's a huge bank.
My God, I wonder how much money they really control.
Yeah.
I mean, it's.
But I mean, you do see some things. I know, like, I don't know if you're familiar with Vivek Ramaswamy. He's written a couple of books.
Say that again.
Vivek Ramaswamy. He started something called Strive Asset Management, which is specifically designed to go up against BlackRock and take on all of these people that are divesting themselves from companies like BlackRock that are enforcing the ESG standards. Mm-hmm. So, like, a lot of these states and things like that are starting to refuse to do business with BlackRock. This guy has an asset management company that is specifically investing in oil and coal type companies, fossil fuels. It's young. It's got a long ways to go to be able to compete on that level, but I think it takes things like that, almost like building a second economy, if you will. The people who aren't going along with this, are still able to live in participate in culture, you know?
Socially responsible banks. That's a contradiction in itself.
Yes.
How many banks are in the FDIC? How many do they control?
Because it's a federal program.
Well, it's the insurance. It's all
Right.
you know. Is there another place to get that?
Not as far as I know. Yeah, and that's the trouble. I mean, you've got all
Because
the
it all
banks.
ties them to the money supply. They're all
Right. You've got the FDIC with the banks. And then you have a different entity over securities, SIPC, and so yeah, it says in 2021 there were 4,236 FDIC insured commercial banks in the U.S., and that is just some statistical website, I guess. But
so. Here's
Yeah.
another thought. Okay, I know we're kind of veering off of. I guess we're not, but are we better off? Are the rich people better off creating new banks that are not FDIC insured? Like if I'm a rich guy, instead of trying to build gas-powered cars, which I may not know a lot about, but I know money,
yeah,
is making my own bank the better way to go, and I can decide who loans, who we loan money to and who we don't.
yeah. I mean, that's possible.
What's it take to make a bank? You want to create one?
I know I don't have a whole lot of capital.
Well, I got some.
If somebody came to get a loan from me, I might have some pocket lint and 38 cents in my pocket. But
I thought it was 45.
But I don't know, because there's so many things at play right now. The United States government is pushing hard to get a digital currency. I don't know when that's going to happen. I hope it never happens. I hope that our
It's
legislature
not,
will stand strong on
It's
that.
not their
but-
call, though. They don't create money.
Right. I don't think the Fed can just switch currencies, though.
I don't know how that works. Boy.
So, yeah, it's...
I don't see that coming soon. I know that's people are talking about that, but
well...
again, there's resistance. There's enough people who resist who still write checks. I'm just not sure that's they won't say it's me, but
Right.
I mean, to me, a digital currency. There's so much skepticism of government right now.
Yeah.
There's so many people questioning stuff, even though I still feel it's not changing. It's still trudging ahead despite the opposition.
Yeah.
So, the thing I worry about is, like I've said, losing the dollar. I mean, that's what I consider
Right.
worse than a digital currency, is the dollar not being the standard for the world, which it's been for a long time.
Right. Well, and that's the thing. I mean, you've got different countries like China and Russia, and you have a group of 5 countries that have like Brazil and India and some others.
Real growing countries, though.
Right, that are looking to create a digital dollar that can be that new currency of the world. So to say that we won't do it if it looks like we're going to lose our standing, it's possible we'll try to rush something through. I don't know.
So what happens if there's a digital dollar? I mean, I know we've talked about this before, but I got my paycheck. What happens to it?
So Obviously, everything's electronic. Kind of like with your paycheck now. Everything goes into the bank and it's ones and zeros. They keep a tally of how much you have. The problem is, and where it's different, these are coming from the Federal Reserve, and they're programmable, which means they're programmed to you based on the information that they have about you. And if you're overweight, your digital dollars might not work to buy donuts. If you are a conservative, your digital dollars may not be able to go to a conservative candidate or to buy certain books. If you are a second rights person, you may be, and look, I mean, they're already trying to paint certain people as threats and as radicals. You may not be able to buy certain types of firearms or ammunition or any of it.
Right, based on what you read or what you socialize with.
Absolutely. It's the whole Chinese social credit taken to a next level because it's tied in with a currency which they can shut off at any time, much like what happened with the truckers up in Canada, where their bank accounts were frozen. They weren't able to access any of their funds. And that's the direction that all of this is headed in.
So I'll throw the odds to you. Are we looking at that in 5 years, 10 years, 100 years? I mean, technology has grown so much just in our lifetime.
Yeah.
Are they capable of it, first of all? I mean, are they capable right now of doing that? I mean, it sounds... I mean, our government can't do anything without screwing up. It's just kind of... I mean... They suck at everything they do. So it's kind of like, it's scary for sure. But what is our government good at? And the idea that they're all of a sudden going to control everything. This is the same government that, landed a man on the moon and now can't travel, 400 miles in space, which is interesting.
Yeah.
So how realistic can something like that, because it has to succeed. You can't do this and screw it up. Okay?
Right.
It's going to have to work.
Well, I don't think they're ready for it right now. I think we tend to think, oh, this is something new they want to do. They've been talking about this for years. We're already down the track a ways on this.
But also, government isn't good. Joe Biden's not going to do this. Somebody has to do it. They have to get people to do it.
Yeah.
Now, who are those people?
Yeah, I don't know. I will say that the federal government tasked a certain committee to come up with a plan on how to switch to a digital currency, and they had a 6-month time frame to do it, and that 6 months has got to be up pretty soon if it's not yet. So it is something that they are moving aggressively on.
Well, here's the other thing. What is with the media blackout of this?
Well, the Queen died, and then there was a hurricane, and then...
Okay, but I mean, is this something that they're because the mainstream media, they have to be working with them.
Yeah.
They're always working with the mainstream media because that's why stories get blacked out.
This has been blacked out as well for the most part.
Well, we'll cover that Casey Anthony case wall to wall, but Jeffrey Epstein?
Yeah.
Nothing. Jeffrey Epstein went to court. Where are the photos?
Yeah.
Where was the perp walk?
Yeah.
Where was that? Notice how it was a complete blackout. Where's guy dies and it's pulled off the front page.
Absolutely.
Coronavirus. Where did that come from? Not one investigation into it.
Yep.
You can't tell me that's not coordinated.
Absolutely.
Because to me, the person who finds that, if there was a journalist that figured that out, would be a Pulitzer Prize winner 50 times over.
Well, maybe not anymore.
Okay, but
yeah.
How you can't tell me the person who breaks that story. So there has to be a media equipment, and this all goes back to what we're talking about with this, doing this on a local level. And But you can't tell me. And it's kind of the same way at the local level. You pick up the paper, you'll see nothing on this.
Right.
You go to a city council debate, they'll never ask about this. I mean, there's a total. It's like there's a wall of what the elites are doing and know, and what the rest of us think is going on.
Right. You know, and you do have some people that try to get into some of this stuff. You do have some good journalists, John Solomon, Laura Logan, you know, Tucker Carlson.
Alex Berenson. You have a handful.
Yes. Right.
You got 10 out of 2 million.
Right.
But you're right. There are a handful who try. They meet resistance. Mm-hmm. They're called names. They're marginalized. I mean, Alex Berenson spent 10 years at the New York Times.
Right.
And now he's marginalized by everybody outside of Glenn Beck and Tucker Carlson and Joe Rogan. Mm-hmm. You know, and I mean, this is a independent thinking reporter. And you can disagree with him if you want to. That's fine. Debate him if you like to. I'm all for it. But the blackout of it, Hunter Biden thing, total blackout.
Yes.
Well, don't hear a word about it anywhere. You turn on CNN and search that, you'll find nothing.
Right. But yet, you know, it's been proven that there are records that prove all of this.
There's a laptop. I go back to COVID-19. I mean, you have what is it? A cross between a bat and a pentagon, and then you've got
yes,
penguin.
Yeah, pangolin. Yes,
and yet it's all in Wuhan, where there just happens to be a level 4 lab, and yet after 3 years, we can't find the host animal.
Yeah.
How is that possible?
He's probably in a cage at Anthony Fauci's apartment.
Yeah, I'll tell you how it's possible.
Yes.
Because it didn't come.
Yeah.
Why am I a loon for saying that? Why does that make me a loon? You know, you have to look at it as... It's kind of like being on a jury. You don't convict beyond beyond all doubt. It's beyond a reasonable doubt. You have to take the preponderance of the evidence. And the preponderance of the evidence says it's a lab leak.
Yeah.
You may not want to believe it. And I'll tell you what, here's the other thing. If there's a media blackout on something, this is what it tells me. It tells me the truth is 100 times worse than we think it is. Mm-hmm. The truth is way worse than we think.
Right.
And the media's only alternative is to ignore it.
Yeah.
What else can it be? And of course, these major corporations that own these media places are in on all this stuff, whether that's Disney, whether it's Comcast, they own NBC.
Yeah.
You know, Universal.
Yeah.
Also owned by NBC. I mean, Viacom, Jones CBS, News Corp, they're all in on this.
Yes.
How do you have a free press if they're all in it together? Controlling that message. The big lie. I've gotten so upset that I'm losing my voice.
Yeah.
By the way, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Baseball.
Okay.
Who's taking the series?
The Padres? No, I know they're not in the playoffs.
Well, they might be.
Are they? Maybe.
It's the Dodgers against the field in the National League.
Yeah,
let's be honest.
It is, and in the American League, I really don't want the Guardians. I don't ever because of the. I shouldn't even say their name because they just make me upset.
I call them two things: either the Cleveland Gardettos because I like the Gardettos, or I call them the Cleveland Skid Marks. Those are the two things I call them. Well, it's New York or Houston. I mean, the clear. I want to see a Yankees-Dodgers World Series. Do you know there's been 3 in my lifetime?
Really?
Yeah, I didn't see any of them. 77, 78, and 81.
Huh.
And I obviously, I was born in 77, so I was 0, 1, and 4.
Yeah.
But I'd like to see one Yankees-Dodgers World Series. Just pretend I'm in Brooklyn or Manhattan or something like that.
The problem is this. If those are your two cities, it's kind of like Sophie's Choice. It's like, do I go here and get stabbed, or do I go here and have to watch out for all the hypodermic needles and poop on the street?
Well,
or, do I go
ans-
here and become a victim of subway rage, or do I go here and get caught in the middle of a Rite Aid with a flash mob that's...
Here's my answer to that. I'm not gonna go there. I'm just gonna watch. I'm not gonna go to L.A. or New York. That's my answer to that. But I'll say, hey, look. I mean, back to this crap we're talking about. I mean, it is so difficult. These groups are so far ahead in planning and their evilness. They're just evil. They're evil. That's just all I can say. And they're so far ahead of us. They've planned. It's like they've war gamed this stuff, and they've been planning it for decades.
Yeah.
COVID gave them the perfect excuse, just like the Great Recession. Just you go back to the Great Depression.
Right.
You go back to, and you look at that worldwide. Okay, because there's a worldwide recession there, or depression. What did it lead to? Look at what it led to.
Right.
Look what happened when things were bad and government could make scapegoats. Government could use a crisis to, never let a crisis go to waste. Whoever said that.
That was Obama.
I thought it was his other guy. Who's his other?
Or it was his Rahm Emanuel.
Yeah, I mean it was.
Or was it Zeke Emanuel?
No, I think that's right. The first one, Ram. He blatantly, just openly says it, and that's the same thing here.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what. Control of the money supply that triggers everything. And I'll tell you what, it's also control of our own energy, and which is another problem. But again, one of the things not talked about drilling for oil is who's paying for it.
Mm-hmm.
Companies need to borrow money. Who's going to loan it to them?
I don't know.
I don't know if that local credit union in Texas, and I know there's states fighting back again. I know Florida's one of them that are fighting back against
West Virginia.
Yeah, right. I mean, the deep red states are doing it, but ultimately they control X percent of, and I know they're growing while the blue states are shrinking, and that's true, but not fast enough. So, I don't know. This is pretty... it's scary stuff. It's just scary stuff. But this crap going on in Minnesota, you mayors, let me tell you something. Let me give you mayors some advice. You're bad enough at your day job, okay? You're bad enough at what you do now. Stop spreading things, making it worse for all of us.
Yeah.
Screw your regional thinking. I don't need you. I don't need you coming to where I live and trying to put your roundabouts and your road diets and your whatever else, your grass diets or whatever else is going on. I don't want that here. No. Go away.
Just worry about your own city.
Jake Spano, you ruined St. Louis Park. Go ahead and keep doing that, but don't bring it here.
Yes. Well said.
Unfortunately, here's the thing. You talked about the mayor of Granite Falls.
Yeah.
This is everywhere. This transcends red and blue.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? It means nothing that you live in an area that you don't live in Minneapolis. Again, so many people think if they don't live in a big city crap doesn't come to them. And there's just nothing could be further from the truth.
Well, I mean, that is the essence of this group, is to get this into every city and to have every city, adapted obviously for your city size and whatever. But, we see it happening everywhere, whether it's Buffalo or Monticello or Moorhead or Albert Lee or Granite Falls or Pelican Rapids or Minnesota. It's
car-free living in Minnesota.
Yes. As I've always said, imagine pulling the pontoon to the lake with your bike.
Well, I mean, I come back to, Pelican Lake up there, which is a huge lake, and thinking, it would probably take you a day and a half to walk around that lake.
Right.
And you're going to have car-free living.
Yes. How do you do that? I don't know. That's just unthinkable in that part of the world.
Don't know, don't want to know. It's just, I mean, I mean, in a city like that, what's the nearest? I mean, Hibbing is probably,
Yeah.
What's that? Maybe a half hour from there?
Yeah, probably.
South?
Yeah, when you think about where Orr is, I mean, you've
On
got...
your way to Voyager to Lake Cagatoga.
Right. I mean, yeah, that's probably it. Hibbing, Chisholm, Eveleth,
Virginia,
Virginia,
Nashwauk, that whole area.
Yeah.
But yeah, where do you go for groceries if you don't have a car? I'm kind of curious.
Yeah.
Just I mean, here's the thing. I mean, and I sit and I do the same thing. I laugh about it, but
Yeah.
those folks, they're dead serious about that stuff.
Absolutely. And they will not stop until it's been done, because then they've done their part to save humanity or whatever it is they think they're...
Eat them all.
Boy.
On that note,
Yes.
we got Brother Love's theme music. Jay, it's that time again to attempt to put a positive spin on that show. That was pretty tough. We just get more negative here.
Yeah. Well,
styling and profiling, jet flying, limousine riding, wheeling dealing, son of a gun. Jason Bradley, take it away.
oh boy. I think I sigh at the beginning of these more and more of these days.
Start calling you Al Gore.
As I look at what's going on in society, and whether it's, all of the violence and the crime and the, turning people back out onto the streets, or whether it's from an environmental perspective and more regulation and more regulation and more regulation, or, trying to force people to buy a certain product because that's where they want to put their focus. There's just so much that we have to be aware of, and it gets overwhelming. It gets overwhelming for all of us. And part of that is just we don't have enough workers. We have enough people that believe a certain way, but we don't have enough workers to be able to get things done, to be able to watch these groups, to be able to put up a resistance to these groups. But you know what? It is just a matter of time, and it will happen. I believe that. I believe it because it has to. If we don't stand up, if we don't do something about this, everything's lost. We are lost as can be, and it's never coming back. And I can't believe that that's where we're at, and that nobody cares enough to do something. See, this is a thing. We've been so busy as conservatives chasing down the American dream that once we get it, and really it's become pretty easy to get, a house, a job, cars, boats, whatever, that I think it kind of cheapens it a little bit, because we've taken our eye off the ball, and it's all about hard work and our values and the things that really make America America. It's not about the cars and the vacations and the boats and the white picket fence around the house, and it's about a way of life. It is about a general sense of goodness. And if we don't stand up to protect those things, if we don't make sure that we stand in the way of evil becoming part of our culture, the way we do things, the mainstream, then we put this entire country in between a rock and a hard place. And it becomes harder and harder and harder by the day to get any of that back, and to be able to restore our Constitution to a place where we are able to make a difference. Because if we're not able to do that, then we're in a lot of trouble. We are the last best hope of the world to preserve freedom and to be able to keep people thinking in a way that it's really about being able to make choices, being able to pursue happiness, being able to have life and be free. And we have too many authoritarians that are out there nowadays that are just what they think they want to do and how it affects all of us and why they think they're so much smarter than us that they have the ability just to put these things into action and force everybody else to do it. Well, I'm not going along with it. Yeah, call me a radical. Call me whatever you will. I really don't care. I am here to help preserve what this country was destined to be. I am here to stand up when somebody says that they want to put controls down on us. I am here to watch over what we have been given and to be a good steward of it. And I believe in you guys, and especially, if you're a regular listener of this show, you understand it, you get it. And a lot of you have joined in to help. A lot of you are doing something about it. But we need more. And we need more numbers. And we need more numbers. Because that is the way that we are going to be able to put an end to this. By having enough people stand up and say, enough. So if that's you, if you're ready to do that and you want to get going, whether it's by starting a podcast, whether it is by getting on an advisory commission, whether it is through making literature or whatever it is you think that it is that you're made to do, we want to help you get going and have influence in your community. The way to do that is by getting a hold of us at commsolutionsmn@gmail.com. That is commsolutionsmn@gmail.com. And we would love to get together with you and help you to figure out exactly what it is that you were made to do. That's really the crux of it. If we're all doing that, we will win because there's too many of us and we will not be defeated. We cannot be defeated because we have goodness and grace on our side. Until next time, we love you, Minnesota, but now it's your turn to get to work. If I get too caught